Hey guys, hello, happy 4th of July, Independence Day, and I've been waiting for this video to show you and to teach you some of the secrets of the most interesting, intriguing, and at the same time kind of surprising lines against e5, the ones that you're going to like so much and where you're going to have like so many good results and wins in like just a small number of moves. Why do I say I've been waiting for this moment for so long? Because this is the opening that made me kind of famous online. As you know, everybody knows me as the Butcher, and I played on all those platforms, chess.com, Lead Chess, ICC, Play Chess, with really fascinating results. More than 70% of wins I have with the Queen H5. Keep in mind that most of the time I played against FMs, IMs, and GMs. I even used the Queen H5 against Karyakin. It was a very nice Blitz game in 3 minutes. I used it in European Blitz Championship. I used it in so many other games. You even know that Magnus Carlsen used this opening recently in Title Tuesday. Somebody used it against him. And on the top of all that, you certainly know that one of the best Blitz and Bullet players in the world, Hikaru Nakamura, uses Queen H5 very, very often in his games. So let's get started. First of all, when you play Queen H5, you threaten to win the pawn on E5. Obviously, for all of you who are not pretty much aware of the fact what are we threatening, we actually threatening this one. So Queen takes H5. By the way, for all of you who watched the video on the Chessbrot channel about the Patzer's opening, don't even ask me. This is an improved version with latest improvements, some of the refreshing novelties, and way more improved than the one you used to check, watch, and you probably know. So after Queen H5, in that video I said that the worst move here is G6. Somebody made a comment, Maya, G6 is not the worst move is King E7. And this is one of the shortest mates in chess, Queen takes E5 mate. Of course, let's get started. So the first line, and that especially happens on lower levels, so for all of you who are just beginners or just want to trick, I don't know, your neighbor, brother, father, grandpa, or whatever, you can just go with this Queen H5, and lots of guys tend to kick this queen away with G6. Then you play Queen E5 check, and boom, you win the rook. This is one of the most common mistakes. I even beat a couple of IMs, believe it or not. Okay, it happened in bullet games. Probably they just reacted, like intuitively and just faster and blundered this almost terrible thing. I have a really amazing information for you. I have a really fantastic experience with this opening in Blitz, Bullet, and I even used it in a couple of tournament games. More than 2,000 games I played in the Patzer opening with the white pieces. I played on all those platforms that previously mentioned, and I have to say that 70% with the white pieces against pretty good players with the Queen H5 really sounds like a serious opening. I used it more than 200 different GMs. So this is very fun. And all of them, for some reason, think that they have to immediately punish you and win the game. Well, it's not going to work this way. At least after this video, for sure not. So after Queen H5, I already showed you that the trick with G6 works very successfully for us. So Queen takes C5 and you win the game. There is a Kiddie Counter-gambit. Kiddie Counter-gambit is Knight F6. A lot of people tend to play Knight F6. They pre-move Knight F6, but there are guys who like to play this gambit. You take on E5, of course, and they play Bishop E7. For all of you who wonder why not Queen E7, well, guys, don't forget, we've just won the pawn. So we trade the queens off. play knight c3, develop afterwards knight f3, bishop c4, d4, and what is like so much better. So after queen e5, they have to play bishop e7. You play d3. d3 is very important to overprotect the pawn on e4 once you put the queen back on g3 and to open up the bishop. So d3 is my solution and my suggestion against this Kiddie Counter-gambit. They can play castle or knight c6. Those who do knight c6, you play the queen g3. The real question is, do we really threaten to take on g7? Well, here, yes. So we do want to take on g7 because we would be up 2 pawns, then you put the queen on. For example, let's just say they do something. You just take on g7, rook g8, queen h6, bring the queen back into the safety, and you should be winning. Just because of this, everybody plays castles, but I just played like 3 games, I believe, out of those almost thousands of games, where the guys went for knight e4. Looks very logical and looks very tempting. And looks like we can stop the knight c2 because obviously king d1 would be just weak, and that kind of probably is thinking of most of our opponents, that we have to play king d1, and that would be like playing with the king into the center of the board early out of the opening. Knight a3 doesn't work because of bishop takes a3, and queen is out of the game, so this looks lost. Boom, knight jumps a3. All of a sudden, this knight defends the pawn on c2. Everybody, but absolutely all these guys thought like, wow, this guy is complete Patzer. He plays Patzer's opening, but he's Patzer's himself. So take on a3. And then Patzer gives check. Queen e5. So now, I'm not, of course, going to take the bishop because they will fork me with knight c2, but I go with this check. One of these guys played knight a6, I played b takes a3, demolished them. I was up a pawn, bishop here, strong pawn chain into the center, and a very stable one gives white a very nice game. In case of queen e7, I take on d4 in those 2 games, bishop c5, and I play queen a4. Why? Because I'm not allowing them to play d5 immediately. If they play castles, I'll play knight e2. I can put my dark square bishop on g5, play long castle, and I'm just going to complete my development and be absolutely fine in that position. In case of queen g3 castle, that's what happens in like 90% of my games. Probably had like hundreds of games here. You just go with bishop e2. There is a very important point not to make mistake here, because if you immediately play bishop h6, they can go with this knight h5. And now you don't have mate anymore. They don't have to play g6. And they will open up the center, especially if you play queen g4, they can always open up the center, open up the game. And even though you think, oh, I'm up a pawn, I can even take another one, you might end up in a very, very serious difficulties after like rook e8, d takes e4, knight d4, and even queen f6 in some positions, because this looks pretty dangerous. Of course, they don't have to play like this. They can also play something else, but what I'm actually trying to tell you, don't play bishop h6 immediately. Play bishop e2. The point of bishop e2, everybody goes with d5. Those who play like calm d6, you just play bishop h6. They can play g6, they can play knight h5. They have to play like this. And now I'm suggesting you to go with knight c3 and long castles. You're absolutely fine. Your knight wants to go on d5. You want to play h4, long castle. You'll see knight f3 or not. But basically, I like the plan, knight e5 castles, h4. White looks really great in this position. So after bishop d2, d5. Looks like, wow, he's opening up the center. My queen is basically doing nothing. You play e5. Now you see the point. They cannot jump with this knight, neither to h5 nor to g4. They gotta play like, oh, knight e8, knight f3. I'm fine. You don't have bishop h4 anymore. I overprotect e5. Don't forget, we're up a pawn. So they have to play knight e7 to attack the pawn. We play bishop h6. Boom. And we go after this. There is a point behind this pawn on e5. So we were up an exchange. We're up a pawn at the moment. we're going to win this rook, and the pawn on e5 basically prevents bishop f6 by black. This happened in like more than probably 60 games of mine so far. 98 is practically the only move, and like I said, knight f3, and I'm of opinion that with a pawn up, possibility to play knight c3, bishop h6, h4, having the possibility to make both long and short castle, white really does a good job here. So we're done with the Kiddie Counter-gambit. After queen h5, lots of guys tend to play d6 against me. When I play bishop c4, they play g6. But those who play queen e7, I'd like to make an improvement in comparison to the video on Chessbrah. They want to go with knight f6 and they overprotect the f7. We put the queen back on e2. On the Chessbrah video, I always suggest go with the queen on h4. No, that doesn't work anymore. By the way, this line has developed in this past couple of years, and black even have some theoretical knowledge after queen h5. After queen e2, knight c6, you go knight f3. They want to go bishop g4 with a very obvious and well-known fork, knight e4. You play c3 to stop this knight moving to d4 and getting like a very strong game. So when you play c3, knight f6, kick the bishop away, d3, and look at this. I love it, bishop e5. I like this move a lot. We threaten to take on c6, but more importantly, I want to play like bishop e3, and at some point I want to do some c4 idea. In one of my games, played against some French GM, he played queen e8, bishop e3, a6, I captured, and I played c4. Afterwards, I went with g4 to shut off the light square bishop on h5. Played knight c3, jumping with my knight on d5. And then I went with a pawn storm, a little bit unusual on the queen side with b4, rook b1, and I demolished the guy on the queen side. So just like you see, this is like a really huge possibility for you. After bishop c4, they all go g6. You once again threaten checkmate. We won't give up on our Patzer's idea. So when they play knight f6, knight c3. By the way, this has just transposed into the main line. And the main line we're about to analyze in like a couple of minutes. In case of queen h5, queen e7, defending the pawn on e5, but at the same time blocking the bishop on f8. We play bishop c4, any g6, bring it back to e2, and don't forget, this is an improvement. In case of knight f6, once again, so far, we always used to put this queen on h4. It doesn't work anymore. I also played against one GM. Looks like GMs even know some theoretical knowledge against this one. And I went with queen h4. That was the old approach, like, I want to defend the pawn, I want to go d3, bishop g5, and want to go with knight c3, knight e5. But then, boom, out of nowhere, it came out of blue, like g5, threatening my queen. And you know what, if you take like this, rook g8, they just have very strong initiative, and I lost the game very soon. So we have to play queen back to e2. After queen e2, knight c6, they want to jump with this knight chasing away the queen. We go knight f3. They go d6 because in case of d6 and bishop g4, we just want to play castles. They go bishop g4 to play knight e4, and you go c3. You go c3 where you prevent knight d4 by black. They go long castles, and once again we go with the bishop b5 thing. In the previous line, I played first d3. In this game, I played bishop e5. So I'm not sure whether I should be going with d3 first or bishop e5, but I'm pretty sure that both of these are just fine. This guy went with his own attack, reminds me of some sort of like Shara gambit. I played bishop takes c6, d4, not because I'm interested in, I don't know, fighting for the center, but I open up this bishop, which is very important, and look how I finished off this guy. I played queen a6, played king b8, I played knight e4 threatening mate. He was probably hoping knight e6, bishop c6, queen c6, and that's it. I played bishop g5. Played a4, which came out of nowhere because I wanted to use this rook lifting. He took the bishop, I played here, rook to b3, and played knight to c6. And now he couldn't stop both. In case he takes the rook, checkmate. In case he takes the knight, I have this mate. So this is like very interesting plan. And don't forget, it usually happens when the queen goes on e7. Just because of this, they have to play the main line. And the main line goes with knight c6. Knight c6 is simply the only logical move. It's developing move. It defends the pawn on e5. And that's the only reliable defense by black. I even remember in Title Tuesday, somebody, when I am from, I believe, Latvia, used against Magnus Carlsen. Then the guy tried the scholar's mate, and Carlsen played g6. Those who play queen e7, don't forget, once again, we have the same type of idea. But you know what? If you've watched my videos in previous couple of weeks, we're going to transpose to something. Knight c3 to jump d5 to chase the weight of queen and to fork them on c7. They go knight f6. Boom. Queen d1. Look at this. Do you recognize what I'm doing? I'm actually putting my queen back into the starting point, d1. And you know what? By the way, don't play queen h4, please. Queen h4 is bad because of knight e4. And then you practically have to play bishop b3. And that bishop b3 could be killed. Once they play like c6, b5, a5, they can even take on b3 and they would just have a bishop pair and fine game. You put the queen back on d1, and now queen actually stands in the middle of nowhere and it blocks the bishop on f8. Believe it or not, the best move is queen d8. Do you recognize what is this? When you play d3, this is a Vienna hybrid variation. Check the series of widths on this topic, bishop's opening. You have like 3 videos about the bishop's opening that I've made last couple of weeks. So bishop c4, they have to play g6. We play queen f3, once again going for a scholar's mate. And now we have to see like 3 different lines and 1 suspicious line. Let's get started with suspicious line that doesn't even have name. By the way, I gave the names to the following continuations by black, so I hope you'll find it kind of interesting. Knight h6, it's pretty bad. Yes, it does defend the f7. At the same time, it threatens to jump with this knight on d4 and chase the queen away on f3. We play knight e2 to avoid that, to play d3, to prevent knight e4, and to go with d3 or d4, going with bishop h6. After bishop g7, d3, you threaten bishop h6, queen f7 mate. I cannot even explain you how many games I won using this very primitive type of attack on the king's side, but you know what? I can barely believe that they can hold like more than 20 moves here with the black pieces. So kill them so bad here. So they can't play like this. They gotta go with something else. I call this f5 move Patzer Counter-gambit. So if our queen h5 is Patzer's opening itself, this is Patzer's Counter-gambit. They want to go with f5. It's really bad if you take on f5. I got destroyed once, and ever since then, I just took this variation, made some analysis, and won like so many games. Knight e2, you have to play this. Otherwise, they just have like almost unstoppable initiative if you take on f5. So knight e2 to prevent knight e4. By the way, don't worry, they can take on on e4 because you have this very nice mate. So they go knight f6, you go knight c3. In couple of games, I had like d6, then you capture, which is a little bit surprising. And if they play g takes, you play d3. It prevents e4. King is exposed and weak on e8. They can't play castle. You want to play bishop g5. In case they look at the monster on c4. Now it controls the whole board. If knight b4 to win the c2, you just play bishop b3. This is really difficult position for black. You can check it out on the engines. It's really, really good. In case of bishop takes f5, what I had in more of these games, I just played d3. I can play h3, g4, bishop g5, a long castle, short castle. It depends on moves by black and circumstances on the board. If you ask me what would I do right now, I would first play like h3 to just put my king kind of safety there. I would go with bishop g5, long castle, and that would be my initial plan. That's how we play against Patzer Counter-gambit. So knight to e2. Don't forget about this one. Also, keep in mind, they hope that you would take on f5. Otherwise, if not, this bishop on c4 just becomes a monster on this diagonal. Instead of f5, we have another line here. It's queen f6. Well, this is one of the most common reactions by my opponents. I call it Patzer's desperate line, because they're a little bit afraid in fast time controls that we're gonna meet them, that will come up with so many tricks. And if you win like game or two against your opponents, they will try to trade the queens off with the queen f6. It's a very nice one. You just play knight c3. This is one of the most common approaches by black players, and I immediately have to tell you that probably like 30% of the complete number of games that I played here, so more than like 300 games, I played against queen f6. Results by myself in this opening are remarkable. So when you play knight c3, you want to go knight d5. Also, don't help them when they play queen f6, taking on f6 and exchanging the queens. You just go with knight c3. So what's the point? Most of them played queen f3, but that's a bad move. The only move should be knight d4. Let me just show you what happens when they take on f3. You just capture by knight on f3. And when you capture by knight on f3, this is very critical type of the game and position for black players. Looks like queens are off. We absolutely have no threats, and they can easily lose their game if they're just a little bit, without any caution at this moment. So let me just show you. I played a game, first board for Serbia in a match against Bosnia that was 5 minutes plus 2 seconds, which is a pretty good and good quality of Blitz game. The guy's almost 2600 rated on chess.com, and he's a FIDE master in classic chess. He played knight g on e7. Of all the moves, this is probably the worst reaction. I played knight b5, and when the guy played king d8, I played knight g5. I like when I stretch my opponents with 2 knights like this, and the guy said, man, if I didn't think at all, I believe that I would lasted more in this game than I did like this one. And do you know what's the tough thing? I believe that he immediately resigned. But of course, I had like a couple of IMs, GMs who went into this, and you know what? If they play a6, knight f7, boom, checkmate. Same thing happens if h6, knight f7, boom, checkmate. And after knight g5, they have to play d5. I had like probably 20 games like this. You take, and after this, you don't take the rook, you take the pawn. The point is, if they take on f7, you take on c6, then you take on c7, and they simply fall apart immediately. There is also one more game that I had there. Yesterday I played against the Gian, and the guy played knight a5. I gotta be honest and to say that I made a mistake. I took on c7, took on a8, and we just played like an unclear game. I should have gone with bishop e2, and da-da-da-da. I'm threatening knight c7, I'm threatening knight e5, in case he plays king d8, knight g5, +4 according to the engine. It's crazy advantage. So, knight g on e7, of all the moves, is the worst reaction. Knight b5, and you're completely winning. In case they go with knight f6, which is like very common reaction by guys, you play knight b5. You once again go for the c7 pawn. They can't play king d8, because in case of king d8, you just go knight g5. Once again, you stretch the king between both of these pawns, and they're lost. People play very often here move bishop d6, which is practically the only move. You play d3, and you just wait them to lose the tempo with the tempo. Sorry for that guy. So to lose the tempo with a6, so you take on d6. So when they play like a6, knight takes d6, c takes d6, and just because, like in Rai Lopez, they want to win the light square bishop and they want to play and kick it away with b5, you go with a4. You keep the shelter, you prevent b5, you make the knight a5 being completely useless, and you keep the bishop pair with really awesome control of the dark squares. But I really have to point out one more weakness in Black's game. All together with the dark squares, that's the light square bishop on c8. So just like you see, after knight f3, they can play knight f6, they can play knight g7. People go with h6 because they're those who just take some time. They realize that we have this knight b5, and once again, knight b5 and knight g5 threats, but mainly knight b5. So they go with h6. You go knight b5, they go bishop d6, you go castles. You once again wait for them to lose tempo and play a6. Once they do it, you take on d6, you play a4, very important move. You want to go with b3, bishop a3, you want to go d3, bishop a2, bishop e3. Bishop pair is your main hope here, and this is like, I had like too many games like this, and you just slowly improving the game, and they can't hold the pressure. These pawns are terrible. Light square bishop on c8 is also disgusting, and what is just so good. So if you're knight f3, there are guys who play bishop e7. Makes sense because it prevents knight g5 and makes knight b5 relatively stupid because they will have this bishop d8 defensive resource. You play d3, d6, knight d5, queen d8, and a4. I once again make a shelter. I once again want to keep the light square bishop at all costs. I kind of jump with my knight on d5 because I tied up this bishop for the defense of the c7 pawn, and I want to go with the kingside action, playing the h4 and h5. This looks really, really good for us. And just because of this, we need to go now to the main line when they play knight jumps to d4. I showed you all secrets of queen f3, this Patzer's desperate line. I call it desperate once again because they just want to trade the queens off and get rid of all the threats. Hey, yes, I want to show you like probably the main line, a6 to stop knight b5. Well, you guy maybe stopped knight b5, but now I'm going to have knight d5. So you play bishop d6. Aha, I want to play d3 afterwards, but you also want to chase away my bishop. So if you want to do this, then I just have to defend this knight a5 by black where they chase away the bishop. We go with a4. We prevent knight a5, we prevent b5, and we want to always keep the light square bishop and keep and create a shelter for that bishop on a2. After h6, b3, knight c on e7, bishop b2, knight d5, bishop d5, f6, d4. You open up the game and seemingly equal position because it was without a queens, now looks really awesome for white because of this active and really nice bishops. And finally, it's time to check the knight e4, which is practically the only line here. So when they play knight to d4, we gotta make the retreat, queen retreat here. We have to play queen d1. We never want to trade the queens off, and we don't want to help them to exchange these queens, and we don't want to help them to accelerate their minor pieces development. So after bishop c5, here I have a novelty for you. So far, I used to show you and to teach you knight g on e2. You don't have to worry. You can even play this one. It's a fairly nice line, fairly normal one. Because if they play like this, you're just threatening mate on f2. You just play d4. I don't want to bother you now with all these positions and analysis. You should be winning. But the problem is, not the problem, actually. If they take on e2, you just play like castles. You just play d3. You just play king on h1, and you break with f4. It's especially good that the queen stands on f6, that the d5 is under constant threat by knight e5, and that I have problems with the f7. Also, they have problems with the dark squares. So this line is not a problem. I actually like it. The problem is knight g on e2 when they play c6. I mean, problem. I played against Eric Hansen like this once, and I beat him in a Blitz game. So you have to play castle. And for example, when they do something like, I don't know, knight e7 or whatever, you take, and when they play like this, you go like knight e2, kicking the bishop away. You go d3, And when they play castles, you just go king h1 with f4. White really has like a pretty nice game. Any d5 you don't take, you don't touch anything, and you just want to break with f4. Plan is bishop h6 followed by f4, or first f4 by bishop h6. Plenty of possibilities we have there. You don't even have to take actually you have to take on d4, but you have to take. You can even play king h1 immediately and break on the f file with f4. These are the possibilities for you. After knight g on e2, white has a little bit better game, although I have an improvement even here. It's the latest improvement with the knight on f3. What's so special about this one? We definitely covered checkmate on f2, and when we play knight f3, they have to play knight takes f3. What's wrong with d6 because it looks so logical? We take, because watch out, if you allow them to play bishop g4, better pack your stuff, go home and quit this game. So, knight d4, they go bishop d4 threatening mate, you go castles. And now you once again want to go with king h1 and f4. Once again, you can't even imagine how many games I had a similar type of position and I crushed them so bad. c6. Okay, you don't want to give me knight e5. No big deal, baby. Knight e2, kick this bishop away, and after they play bishop b6, boom. This is the crucial move. Everybody thinks that I play a4 to chase this bishop away with a5. Well, that's our initial idea. But when they play a5, d4 breaking in the center. I recently had a game against one guy. He played d takes d4 and boom. Rook a3 followed by rook to f3 followed by like weakness on f7, chasing away the bishop on b6, capturing the pawn on d4. White looks really great. Of course, they won't take by bishop because you just have a bishop pair, and that would be even better and easier type of game for you. On the other hand, if after knight c3, knight e4, queen d1, bishop c5, knight f3, they take on f3, you should be capturing by queen and go into this type of an endgame. You're already familiar with the idea of knight d5. Here, the knight is not on c6, so probably they should prevent both of these threats with c6, but you're familiar with the idea of b5, and then you're also happy to do like d3 and playing bishop to a3. Endgame like this is around equal, or let's just say unclear, but I don't mind playing white here because I have some ideas like f4, doubling my pawns, going with h4 and h5, and playing like this. And let's go into the main line. Main line goes with queen h5, knight c6, bishop c4, g6, queen f3, and knight to f6. So we've seen here f5, Patzer's counter-gambit. We've seen like Patzer's desperate hope with queen f6, and we've seen knight h6. It's time for the main line. When you play against good players who are familiar with the secrets and tricks by white, they will play knight f6 instantly. It's time to show you some really nice improvements and some really important stuff. Knight e2. You have to play knight e2 to stop knight e4 to complete your development with short castle afterwards. They can play bishop g7 and they can go with d6. Everybody goes with bishop g7, but it's pretty much the same whether they play d6 or bishop g7, or let's just say very similar. Those who do d6, you just go with h3. I like h3 to prevent bishop g4, bishop g7, d3, and then you go a3 to keep the light square bishop. Position is fairly normal. You want to go with knight c3, bishop g5, absolutely normal position. But I also like, instead of h3, I also like knight c3. This is how I played against Karyakin. He played knight b4, jumping on and threatening here, bishop b3, bishop g4, queen g3, and bishop e6. I have to tell you that this is the engine top reaction against the Patzer's opening. Like, let me trade the light square bishops off and win the c2 pawn. Well, it's not gonna work this way. In that game, I went for a3, bishop b3, this one, if bishop c2, d4 with huge compensation for white. Brought it back to e6, and you know what? After d4, I believe that white is just slightly better here, right? So after bishop a4 check, I also like this one in case you're not happy with previous lesson. You can play a3 and d4. White absolutely has normal game. And finally, after knight e2, bishop g7, you go knight c3. They go castles. In last European Blitz Championships played in Skopje 2019, because in this 2020, unfortunately, because of coronavirus, we didn't have a chance to play any live tournaments. My opponent went for d6. But you know what? It's quite a brave decision to play in like official, like European Championship and opening like this. I played against 2100 FIDE guy. I played d3. He played bishop g4. I played queen g3. He went with h5. Lots of guys goes with this. They want to play h4 to trap the queen immediately and bishop h6. So I played f3. It's usually a nice retreating square for the queen. In case he goes with bishop e6, boom, we win the pawn and we're winning. So the guy had to play h4, kicking my queen away, and played bishop e6. I played just bishop e3. I remember that I won this game very convincingly. And by the way, this is another important moment for this lecture where you have to understand that whenever they play bishop e6, we can always let them take on c4, in which case we would double the pawns, but intentionally, because we would get an open d-file, c5 threat to pressure the d6 pawn, and a really strong outpost on d5 for the knight. White looks really good. After knight c3 castles, we go with d3. And here, I just need to show you like two systems. Nothing more than that. I need to show you knight d4, which is a very common reaction by guys who believe, my opponent went for the Patzer's opening, let me immediately kill that guy. Well, it doesn't work this way, and that's one of the biggest mistakes and at the same time failures by Black, and simply in their way of thinking against this Patzer's opening. They think that they can punish us immediately. Sorry guys, it doesn't work this way. So we just go d3. Two moves are knight d4 and d6. Lots of guys against me play h6 because they don't want to allow me bishop g5 anymore. That bishop g5 is very annoying idea, very often. You know what? My suggestion is to go with g4. And many times people allow me to go with g5, and you know what? If you have bishop like this, bishop here, threatening knight d5 to win the piece on the spot, going with h4 and h5, going with long castle and rook g1, this is almost completely lost. For Black, of course. In case of g4, and they go d5, I can easily take on d5. You can take by bishop because knight f6 and they lose a piece. In case they take by knight, no big deal here as well. I can just hope for some rook g1, queen g2, threatening rook g5 here. And by the way, if you move the knight, you can take it here because I'm just going to win a piece like, I don't know, I'm just going to play like this, but I'm just showing you like different kinds of ideas that you have here. Queen g3, for example, knight is hanging. They got to play knight g4, kick it away. They go here. Oh, sorry. Boom, baby. Can I go with queen g6 here? Can I go with queen g6? Do I have mate? Unfortunately not. Okay, then I'll go with a move like I'm coming up and I'm improvising here during the lesson. Probably I would take on c7, threatening the rook, and if you take on c7, queen g6, you can't touch my queen and the mate is unstoppable. You play like this, I play bishop h6. This is what the Patzer's opening give you, like lots of like tactics and chances to go with things like this. Okay, maybe I just played something inaccurate here, but I just want to tell you when the g-file is open, all chances to win the game are on your side. So when they play h6, which I consider to be a very suspicious move, you go with g4 and you go with g5. If they allow you to play like, of course, if knight g4, you don't even have to take it. That's the point. You play rook g1. And now they can't go back because you just have rook g6. So that's what I'm telling you. By the way, knight g4, queen g4 is not good because of d5. So just because of this, I'm telling you, play g4 And those, once again, who allow you, for example, they play knight f5, they feel bothered by the existing bishop on c4. No big deal, play g5. They take on g5, we take. Once you reach this bishop on g5 without a possibility of h6 to unpin this, threatening knight d5, they can just pack their stuff and go home. Because look at this, we threaten knight d5. On knight c4, I'm not even forced to take on c4. I'm just gonna play knight d5 and get ready for the mate. You can't move the knight because I give check. And if you move it here, it's checkmate. If you don't move it here, I just take. When you move the queen, baby, it's checkmate, right? So they can't play h6. It's simply very weakening move. Knight d4, very common reaction by guys who like tactics, who like to play very aggressively, and they just want to go with both. They want to threaten the queen, do the fork, remove the knight from e2. When you take on e2 and play knight d5, they just think, oh, good, let me just punish this Patzer for playing this opening against me, play c6 and d5. I'm not lying to you if I tell you that I played more than like 300 games here. You just take on d5, they always give you check, and they're so happy because they put the king on f1. You know that I put a green color on the pieces. It means it's a good piece. No, they gave us check on e8, and our king is not bad. I intentionally put a green color on this king because it's good, it's not bad. And after c takes d5, I won most of my games playing bishop d5, bishop e6, bishop e6. Then I played bishop d5, bishop e6, bishop b7. But at some point I realized that in certain games I had some problems against some opponents, or in some positions I simply disliked my games. And then I came up with the following novelty, almost the refutation of this knight d4 direct approach by black. So we go with a4. It's so nice. It prevents a5 and b5 by black. It gives us a5 and bishop a4 ideas once the queen goes on d7. I'll show you when. And most importantly, I'll go with h3, g4, and king g2, placing my king in artificial castle. When they play bishop e6, a5. Now you can never play queen d7. That's what I was talking about because of this move. Now, when they play like rook c8, we go bishop d2. What do I get with this? You can't exchange the light square bishops and weaken my pawn on c2. That was my initial plan with a4 and a5. Also, when I play like this, I just have a nice development. Even though position looks ugly at the moment and development looks on the blacks in the blacks' favor. So if they go queen d7, once again the same trick. If they go with h5 to go with bishop g4, thank you for helping me. I anyways want to do this. In case of queen h4, just do queen f4 and you have better endgame. One guy played h4, not one guy, actually lots of guys did against me h4, hoping to prevent g3, and they just hope that the king should be bad. But sorry guys, that doesn't work. I played g4. So I want to put my king on naturally the strongest square here. It's g2. If they take, I take by queen. And believe it or not, I just play king g2, h4, h5, and I usually end up attacking them. And my king is safe. So this is a very nice line. And I have to show you the main line. Finally, it's d6. When they play d6, you just have to play this move, bishop g5. If you're unhappy with this bishop g5 move, but I'll show you some improvements in comparison to that chessbrah file, you should be going with h3, bishop e6, where you delay the bishop g5 thing because you don't want to face h6, and then you just go with bishop h5. Now it's a little bit different because they committed themselves with some sort of weaknesses, and you can play like this. If they play like knight d4, you just take, play bishop e6, knight here, knight d2. More or less like normal game for both sides. In case of h3, bishop e6, bishop g5, h6, bishop h4, g5. For example, if they go bishop c4, d takes c4, I already taught you. You're happy if this happens because you have long castle, c5, strong outpost, and always ability to break them on the king side with h4. But I prefer still bishop g5 instead of h3. h3 is positional normal game. I prefer bishop g5, and on the last video that I taught you here, I taught you on h6 to go bishop h4. We'll change that. But let me just tell you what the threat is here. You threaten knight e5 to win on the spot. Lots of games. I played a guys who tried to kick this bishop away, and then I play knight e5 and boom, I win the piece and they resign immediately. Or lots of guys played knight e4, kicking the queen away, then I take and boom, knight once again is lost on f6. So most of games in bullet, people play bishop e6 because that's the fastest type of reaction by them in order to prevent knight e5. You don't have to panic. You can play knight e5, and they have to take. You take by bishop. They gotta play h6, otherwise I'm just going to play like bishop b3 or a3 and keep the bishop here. So they go with h6. We take. We take on c6, and we play b3. This reminds me of some Azeri or Tivyakov system against Sicilian, so e4, c5, knight c3, knight c6, bishop e5 line, when you create a bad pawn structure and then fix these pawns, and once they try to do minority attack, you fix it. And then they can never play c5 and c4 anymore. This is a little bit better middle game for white, or call it endgame, whatever you prefer. You want to play h4 and h5. You want to play like g3 and f4 afterwards with king d2 or just short castle. What is a little bit better? Although, if you're unhappy with the knight d5, you can just play long castle. Because in case you play long castle, you're always happy if they ever capture like this. Look at this. We threaten knight d5 to win the piece. We threaten c5 to take advantage of open d file with a rook on d1 and weak pawn on d6 and queen on d8. And by the way, when they play h6, now you don't even have to give it up. You can just, first of all, you can provoke them to play g5, which would be like serious weakening of the pawn structure. And this pawn structure always should be broken with h4. And you can just bring it back to e3 and support the c5 ideas. Although I prefer bishop h4. And there are guys who, look at this, knight e5 is threat, so they have to play h6. So castle would be my reaction. In case of h6, I take on e6, and I bring my bishop back on d2. It's quite interesting. We have a threat to win on the spot, queen h3. They gotta defend on e6, whether queen e8 or queen e7, but queen e8 is a little bit better because it defends the pawn on g6 at the same time. Rook h to f1. Why? Because we want to break with f4. So knight h5, queen h3. By the way, don't forget, they cannot take advantage of queen being exposed and these x-rays by rook on f1. So knight h5, queen h3, and you just go with g3, f4, white looks better. All things considered, looks like that after we play bishop g5, knight f5 loses on the spot, knight e4 loses on the spot, bishop e6 is like common reaction, but it leads nowhere, so they gotta go with h6. In the old video, which used to be the old approach by black, I taught you to play bishop h4. Couple of guys, really good ones, went with g5 and they knew the refutation. Knight e4, and when you play knight e5, they knew this knight h7 refutation. Believe it or not, white is completely lost, even though it doesn't look like that, because they want to play c6, and after knight before a5, knight has nowhere to go. Knight is trapped in the middle of the board. Also, knight g4 wins, because they threaten c6 followed by a5, but they also threaten some knight e5 or king h8 and f5. Just because of this old approach should be abandoned by white players, and you should go with bishop d2. This is the latest improvement by myself in this opening. I want to go h3, g4, g5. So, lots of guys automatically and robotically plays bishop e6, where I just take on e6 and play queen h3. I won 20 games like this. Lots of guys play knight a5. They go for the bishop. You just go knight e5. But you don't have to. You can even play long castle. It's fine for you as well. Like long castle, they take, you take, They go bishop e6, you play b3. You can, and then you go with bishop, you go h3, bishop e3, and c5. Position is fine. You also can play knight e5, threatening this knight. They take. You take on f6 first, and then you capture by pawn here. After like castles, okay, they have a bishop here, they have a healthier pawn structure, but we certainly have some, I would say, compensation here, although this is one of probably best reactions by black. So instead of this, they can go bishop g4, queen g3, and queen d7, threatening knight h5. You already know that in that game of mine played in European Championship in Blitz, when the guy threatened h5 and h4 to trap the queen, and when they threatened knight h5 to trap the queen, followed by bishop f6, we play f3. And here we go long castles. I'll show you a game played against a really good GM. He played a6 here, hoping to go with b5 and the pawn storm. I took on e6, queen e6. I played queen h4 to provoke weakening of the pawn structure with g5. He did it, I brought the queen back. He played b5, I put the king on b1. Like you always make castle, you just have to put the king on b1, because on b4, now this pawn is defended by the king on b1. Played rook after b8. So, looks like all systems are ready for the attack by black, but we go g4, fixing the pawn on g5 and preparing for h4. He went for queen d7, eyeing this knight on a4. I played h4. He just wanted to, of course, if he takes on h4, I would just play g5 and break the defense. He played knight h7, I captured. He recaptured, and I played queen h2. I threatened the knight. All of a sudden, everything is just bad about black's game. He played knight f8, I played bishop g5. The rest was history. I just played like few more moves, knight g3, knight f5, and mate was a really nice one. So when you play long castles, they probably, instead of a6 and b5, which is slow, have to play bishop c4 and to go like this. We threaten bishop e3, c5. They have to go here sooner or later. I like b3. I like the idea of queen h4 provoking the pawn structure weakening. I like jumping with the knight on d5. I want to play, my king is absolutely safe. White is tiny better. Finally, for those who played bishop d2 and knight d4, this, let's just say, hyper-aggressive approach never seemed to be working. We take, play knight d5, they take, we take, c6, bishop e3, d5, we take, rook e8, king f1. Everything seems to be the same, we just play a4. Now we even have an improved version. They played h6, previously in the position I already showed you they didn't have it. Bishop d2 is doing fine. We go with h3, we go with g4, and we want to put the king in a safety, king g2. We want to put a rook on e1. Dark square bishop can come on f4, or you can push your pawn up to a5. White is certainly better in this type of middle game. Once again, guys, thank you for 2,500 of subscribers. This is pretty good. When I started this project on YouTube channel, I didn't expect like so much and so many people to actually subscribe and watch the channel. Hope that you like the videos. Hope you're gonna support us. Keep up donating, and I just can promise like even more quality videos in the future. Thank you so much, and have a good one. Bye bye.